So in my third part of live loops, I'm going to use my Zoom IQ6 and my iPad to capture some ambient sounds. Bizarrely, people copyright this stuff when they put it online, like sound effects. Oh, you can't use this without permission. It's all around us. So what I'm going to do is I've got the mic gain turned right up here, and I'm going to record a couple of minutes worth of this. So you're not going to stand there and watch me just hold my iPad for 2 minutes, but you'll see me capture sounds from around my house as well. Perhaps the opening and shutting of a door. So if I just go on to another track here, actually there's nothing to stop me just recording from where I got to. Just make the song a bit longer. Now if you end up with this sort of issue of not being able to record, just set the thing to lots and lots and lots of bars. There we go. And then just record all your bits. It doesn't matter if there's a gap between them. So here we go. I'm just going to do that again. Or maybe the sound of a kitchen drawer opening and shutting. Let's press record. I'll just do that again because there was a clack at the end. Next thing. And while we're here, the sound of the gas thing going. Maybe the tap running into the sink. Let's see what happens with that. Or perhaps the sound of a radiator being hit with my knuckle. Try copyrighting that one. The good thing about that is it's got quite a lot of bass associated with it. You hit it and then you can hear the whole thing vibrating. That could be quite a nice little sound of its own. Or perhaps this, I'm in a dark room at the moment, but I'm just going to capture the sound of the extractor fan in my downstairs lavatory. Here we go. So I'll switch the light on, press record first, and then switch the light on. And if you're using the Zoom IQ6 or a stereo mic, you could capture a nice stereo field by making a noise across the mic. So if I find my length of my tune here, because I've actually got not enough bars to record on, there we go. Got a load of free space. Now I'm going to drag this cup past this microphone. So now I've got all my sounds together. I recorded all sorts, some ambience, some sort of doors shutting and all sorts. Now, what am I going to do with these sounds? Well, the answer is you can do anything you like with them. We can sort of manipulate them so that they no longer sound like the organic sounds that we had, bird song or opening a drawer or slamming a door, whatever it happens to be. So what I've done just before this is I've found a little section in my ambience, here it is, just here, which is a bit of bird song. Okay, so what am I going to do with that? Well, my first step, I don't want to export all of this as one file. I want to export tiny little pieces. How am I going to do that with this? Well, what we can do is if we take this little piece and copy it, I'm going to go over here to my sections pane and I'm going to add another section. That's section B, 8 bars. There we go. And then in my new section B here, I'm just going to paste that file. Now, I want to try and play with that to try and give it a little bit of a little bit of more of an edge, something a bit different. So maybe if I compress it, and what I'm going to try and do is home in on that bird song using the equalizer only. That's not too bad. I've got rid of the bass end of that plane going overhead and the excessive top end, which might be noise on your microphone. Now, I'd also it would be best to try and automate the volume so it comes in and out more gradually, but it's quite a small file at the moment. Now, the other things you can do with this, if I click on that and go to settings, a pane comes up where I can start playing with the speed and the pitch. This is really quite cool. So if I maybe have a quarter of the speed, now when you slow something down, it has to put things in. It has to drive wedges of sound in order to make it 4 times as long. So it's not going to sound really anything like birdsong anymore. Okay, not sure I like that ever so much. So I'm going to just edit that. Go back to settings, but before I undo the speed, I'm actually going to set the transposition. Maybe, well, I think you can have an octave either way. There we go. Okay, I think I like that. So that's now a 4-bar section instead of 1 bar. Now I could put things like a track echo on it perhaps. Yeah, so if I just close that page down, we've got the settings pane where you can open up your plugins and your EQ. So I'm going to go for a track echo. Now the track echo does enable you to specify exactly what happens, how many repeats there are, how quick they are, etc, etc. Now, it does still sound like birdsong, but what about if we put it through the vocal transformer, perhaps? Now, all those artifacts in the background, all those extra sounds have been generated by the fact that I've slowed this down. That's not going to be it's not going to be brilliant, that. But that's okay. Don't forget, we are playing with this to see what we can get. We're not trying to make it sound like anything else. I don't mind that at all. Okay. Now, after 2 bars, there's not much there. So we can cut that a bit. We can also automate this so that it sort of comes in and out gradually. Something of this kind. try something like that. Now, before we do any merging to export that to our live loops, which I'm going to work in, I need to make sure that I get rid of section A. So actually I'm going to go back to section B, I'm going to go back to section A here, and I'm going to select everything that's here and delete it. Don't worry, because when you come to actually exporting the section B, it will actually do you. I'm just going to make that 2 bars long as well. Edit. 2 bars. There's no point in merging something or exporting something longer than it needs to be. Okay, so if I now merge this, it's going to now render that with all the effects on it. Automatically saves a version of this song before editing. Now, what it's now doing is normalizing everything that I've got here. There we go. Now, the only trouble with this is it's created a merge track that's across everything. So what I should have done was to delete section A in order that it doesn't give me a massive great load of bars to export. You can do this either before or after. Now I'm going to save this as bird song slow. Now this might be a really long-winded way of doing this, but I can't see any other way of splitting the files actually and exporting all of these things without going through this method. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share this as a song. Yeah, great song, man. Yeah. Save to files. There we go, exporting song, and it's going to put it into my GarageBand file transfer, which you can specify. And then I'm going to start a new song, go to live loops, and then it opens up with a familiar page of where all your loops are going to go. And then you can see a little number 1 at the top here, which enables you to select what you've just done. Bird song deep. There we go. I'm going to drag that in there, and then you can see the loop there. It's not called bird song deep, is it? No, I think that's another one that I did a while ago. Get rid of that. Delete. I'll get another one. So bird song deep. The trouble is, bird song slow, I think is what I called it. There we go. So now when you're in this pane, you could put some reverb on. I wouldn't recommend putting reverb on a sound file that you're then going to export, because you might cut the reverb off. Besides which, it's more fun to start playing with loads of more effects anyway, and I could also cut the top end off to get rid of the quantization noise that came with the editing. Possibilities are endless. Now, what you can also do, if I go to my songs, I'm going to save that as my my sort of template, my sort of effects. So I'm going to call it film effects or something. Rename film soundtrack. Goodness knows what film you put this on, but it could be a bit of sci-fi maybe. So I'm going to go into here now, and I'm going to restore my... It's not that one. It's... It's finding all of the files that you've done. There we go. I'm going to... It's not that one. Now this is the trouble with doing all of this, is that you might find that you've accidentally deleted something, and let's hope we haven't. We won't have done, because it always saves a copy of what you've done before you would export it. So no. So this is where I'm starting to come a bit unstuck, and I just hope that I haven't got rid of everything, because if I have, that would be a little bit of a chore. There we go. Found it. You can duplicate the project and keep it safe somewhere in case you do come unstuck with that. Now, opening and shutting the drawer. I've still got all the effects that I had on here, so I'm just going to get rid of that, that, and have a listen to what I've got. I've also got some master echo and reverb on. So I want to find the drawer that I opened and shut. There we go. I'll just do that again because there was a clack at the end. Okay. Quite like that second one there. So let's have another go and seeing what we can do with this. Now you can also reverse audio files here. I used to do my stuff at university. I did tape pieces. So there's a reel of tape, 1/4-inch tape, which you go out with a field machine, record your stuff, record your sound effects just as I've done here, and then you bring them back into the studio, record one of your sounds onto a piece of tape. Then you'd mark on the tape with a bit of chinograph where you want the tape to start and end, take the tape off, splice it, join it as a loop. So sometimes it would go around a mic stand in your studio and you'd have a sort of sound effect just going through your tape. You'd then apply effects using an old mixing desk and record it onto another piece of tape. And that's how we did it. So it really was a sort of making up stuff as you went along. We kept our loops as well in case we wanted to go back, but of course there was no undo button. So it's finding a good one here. Yeah, I'm going to go with okay, I'm going to go with one of these. Now, we just open this up until it says snap to grid off, which means that you can then edit to a fine detail. Okay. Split that. Oh, there's a little tiny little thing there. We can split this and we can edit it further in another window. So I'm going to now copy that. And then I'm going to add a section, which is going to be section B. I'm just going to have a 4-bar or 3-bar maybe. Copy that, paste it into there, and now we've got our sound. Now, while we're here, we could do something like this. We could go to settings and we could reverse it. At the same time, we could do a bit of automation. So we could cut the very end off, the very beginning. Okay. Now, if you change the speed of this, let's say we set we're going to have it at 1/4 of the speed again. You've got to move your automation points because you can see still it's. If I get automation back, you can still see that it's left the automation in the same place. So we have to move this along like that. Maybe we could have the fade a little bit longer. Now, that's clearly not going to work. So all the undo steps, you can just put these, you can just go back until you find the, there we go. Undo. Okay, so I'm going to get rid of automation now and just make the settings so that it is at the same speed as it was before. Now, we could do all sorts of things with that sound. As I said, be very careful with your reverbs and echoes until you get into the live loops themselves, but perhaps we could ramp up the bass end and cut the treble a bit. See what that sounds like with reverb on, even though I'm not going to put it on here. Oh, okay. There's another sound. Same deal. We basically merge this, having got rid of the song sections. Now, what I would do is also save this, and we could actually do this now. We could duplicate this. Copy. There we go. So, let's go back into this. Go back into that first section and delete it, leaving just what we've got here. Now, we could make that only a 2-bar section, or 1 bar even. So we've got just exporting that. So we could go to My Songs, and we could now save that. Could share it as a song. Could merge it, of course, but we could share it as well. It's really up to you. It's kind of the same process, really. It's just called something slightly different. Of course, if we're mixing a tune, we could merge it into a file, then we could send it to mastering and all that, but we're dealing with just sound effects here. So it's exporting the song at the moment. Let's have a look. File transfer, add, and away we go. So now we're going to go into film soundtrack, and then the loop appears up here. So film effects copy. I don't think I named it. There we go. Now you can see that one of these is a round and one is just a single. Now that means that this will only play back once, whereas if I go to settings on here, play mode, play, and if the looping goes on, then you can see that the circle just goes round like that. But we don't have to have that. Maybe we'd only want it occasionally. So let's have a listen to that track on its own. Ooh. Okay, so let's go back to our global effects and have reverbs and echoes on that. That's pretty deep. We could do all sorts of other things with this. So, I don't know, phaser maybe. It's just something that you could then have while you're playing something like this. Now you can record this as a performance. Now there's 2 things I've got there. But things like water running, it's all quite incredible what you can do with it. What you can actually do with finding... now I've got to find what I've just done. It's not that. This is where I just get lost. You try and find something where there is like... and then it puts them in order as well. So you've got to find where your sounds are, and you've got to go back and then do more things to try and get your sounds. But I did duplicate it. Film effects copy. I think it was that. Section B. Yeah. Okay. It's there somewhere. You can see how this can become a bit of a muddle if you're not careful. But, you know, it is what it is. We are dealing with something that is a free plugin. So it's kind of, well, it is free, and you can do all sorts of things with it. So there we are. There is a method of getting these things into your iPad and getting you know, making some really decent sounds with them. That's pretty mad, I think you'll agree.